Hello, and welcome to the Aquarium of the Pacific. I'm Captain Joe of the Ocean Rangers, and this is our sea otter habitat. Today, we're going to learn a lot about sea otters, who are a very big important part of the food web that is part of the kelp forest. We're going to learn more about this habitat and about ways that you can help conserve it. Just like on land, the base of the food web is made up of things we like to call producers. Now, these are going to be made up of plants and algae, and we call them producers because they can create their own food by using a process called photosynthesis. Now, in the ocean, you'll find large algae like kelp, or you can find very small drifting microscopic algae called phytoplankton. And this kelp and phytoplankton makes the base of the food web in the ocean. The next part of the food web are the consumers. Now, the consumers are going to be eating producers. And if they're eating things like plants and algae, we call them herbivores. Now, some of the consumers eat other animals, and they're known as carnivores. Now, sometimes you might think that carnivores have to be big, like sea otters or sharks, but a lot of times you actually need a microscope in order to see them, like very small plankton called zooplankton. Now, if they like to eat both plants and meat, we call these consumers omnivores. Now, let's take a look at the food web of the kelp forest with both producers and consumers. Now, in a healthy ecosystem, the food web has a very delicate balance. But what do you think if we would take something out of that balance? Let's say the sea otters. Let me tell you a little story about the sea otters. Now, sea otters have a huge appetite, and they eat about 25% of their body weight every day. Now, hold on. 25% of your body weight. That's like if I ate 185 quarter-pound hamburgers every day. Anyways, sea otters love eating sea urchins, and sea urchins love eating kelp. Sea otters do an amazing job at keeping the sea urchin population balanced. In the 1800s, sea otters were hunted nearly to extinction for their fur, which is the thickest out of any animal on the planet. At the time, hunters didn't know that otters were the keystone species of the food web in the kelp forest. Keystone species means that if the otters disappear, it has huge effects on the balance of the ecosystem. With the disappearance of the sea otters, the sea urchins were now allowed to eat as much kelp as they liked because they had so few predators. This caused a lot of problems in some of the kelp forests along the Pacific coast. Thankfully, sea otters are now protected animals, and their populations are starting to recover. Along the coast, we've also created what we call marine protected areas in order to create healthy kelp forest environments. Kelp forests still need our help. So what are some of the things that you can do to help conserve this beautiful ecosystem? Things like recycling, reducing, reusing, being aware of what you put on your lawns, picking up pieces of trash, because all of these things can make their way down into the storm drains into the kelp forest. Since we are also consumers that rely on products from the kelp forest, it is also our job to help balance this food web. Picking ocean resources that are sustainable, which means that there will be enough for the future, helps with this cause. Thank you for joining us today, learning more about food webs, the kelp forest, and about ways that you can help it out. This is Captain Joe, signing off.